Lee Pofaith, founder of NeedHarmony.com, the internet's #1 source of finding true love. We have thousands of clients who have become experts on true love, so we ask them what their definition of love is.
My definition of love is like roses and Cheesecake Factory and Pampered Chef items, which this guy doesn't give me any of.
My mom always said love is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
That's already been used. Can you come up with something a little more original?
Huh?
Give me some sugar.
No matter what your definition of love is, and trust me, we've heard some real humdingers, we here at Need Harmony have what you're looking for.
Love to me is like music in the air. My love, your every breath that I take.
Please don't sing.
Mom always said, can't hurry love, you just have to wait. It's a game.
Hey, that's a song.
It is?
You're my helpless love.
It's endless.
Huh?
It's endless. But love is endless.
Told you.
St. Augustine once said, love itself is what is left when falling in love burns away. I found that sometimes you just get burned. Did you hear that, Margaret? You burned my flesh. Oh!
Well, Mom always said, love is patient, love is kind.
Hey, there's a verse out of the Bible. Can we get your own definition?
Can I call my mom? Forget love is patient. Fill out a questionnaire at NeedHarmony.com and your inbox will be full of love in a matter of seconds. That's a promise.
Define your love for me in a poem.
No.
Yes.
I'm not going
Come
to.
on, a poem.
I don't
It'll
want
be
to.
fun.
No, Debbie.
Come on.
Debbie, I don't
Come
want-
on.
no,
Do it.
Roses are red. Violets are blue. Debbie, I can't do this.
What? That doesn't even rhyme. That doesn't rhyme. He doesn't know what love is.
Do you feel like God has forgotten you when it comes to love and is waiting something you'd rather do for takeout? Well, let us define love for you at NeedHarmony.com, a whole new life of compromise.
If you've ever gone looking for love, if you're gone looking for that soulmate that you want to spend the rest of your life for or life with, it can drive you crazy. I remember before I met my wife, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. And yes, it is a song, and I won't sing it for you. But it was driving me crazy to try to find somebody. And if you're single today, if you're looking for love, then I hope to help bring a little bit of peace and discernment into that search for love for you today. And then maybe you'll even walk away a little bit less crazy as far as this whole topic of love. But if you're not single, if you're married, happily or not, take notes. Because who comes to you for all of this relationship advice? Why can't I find somebody to love? What is wrong with me? So you take what we're going to talk about today and just pass this on to your single friends for encouragement in their search for love. And then get this: if you're a parent or grandparent, especially take heart in the message today, because you've got a big job, a big responsibility in trying to just guide your children to choosing a good spouse, a godly spouse. And so doing something a little different today. Tony is down for the count, and so I'm only going to cover the first 3 points in this in your listening guide, the 3 myths. Okay, if you want to get the rest of the listening guide, you can go on a church website and you actually hear Tony do that message and you'll fill out the rest of your listening guide. He does a message on how to find the love of your life. So I'm getting ready to do these first 3 myths, and then I've got a treat for you. I brought my wife last night to a Saturday night service, and I interviewed her and kind of what she went through, and before she found me. But you'll enjoy that. That'll be about a 10-minute video. So again, I'll do these 3 myths, and then you'll get to see that video we did last night, and then I'll come back and close some things out with you. So let's get started and look at myth number 1. God chooses my mate for me. Okay, that is not true. The Bible does not teach that. Okay, God puts the responsibility on us. Okay, it is our decision. Okay, He made us with free will. We have the freedom to choose. We can choose wisely or unwisely. But He does give us counsel. He gives us direction, guidelines, and principles. That if you open up His Word, you'll see God's direction. Tony goes through that in his message. So if you want to go online and check that out, I encourage you to. But God does not choose our mate for us. He gives us guidelines to help us out. But when we make that choice, it's for better or for worse. And so listen to God, so you've got more better than you do worse when you choose a spouse. Now, myth number 2. There is only one right person for me. Now, isn't that very romantic? That there's only one right person for me in the whole universe? Sounds romantic, but it's ridiculous. I mean, what if that person, that one person you were born to be with, what if they mess up and choose some loser instead of you? Okay, then you're stuck. Or what if they die? Then you're out of luck. It does not make sense. Okay? There's not just one right person for you, but there is a right way to choose. Okay, and we'll talk about that yet today. And then myth number 3. This is a myth I think that a lot of us fall for. Love alone is enough reason to marry. The idea that love is all you need. And that may make for a good song or a good movie, but it's really foolishness and can lead to a disaster of a marriage and relationships. I've talked to a lot of people thinking about getting married, and you ask them why do you want to get married? Because we're in love. I love him or I love her, and I'm like, okay, but is there anything else? Are you compatible, or do you get along? Oh no, we fight like cats and dogs. And so love alone is not enough reason to marry. Given the right circumstances, get this, anyone can almost fall in love with anyone. Even hostages have been known to fall in love with their captors. It's called the Stockholm Syndrome. So don't just let love be your guide. If you don't get anything else out of today, then understand this. When it comes to relationships and choosing who you should be with, don't let love be your only guide, because love isn't a feeling. Love is a choice. Okay, love is a choice. We have done a horrible injustice with creating this phrase, to fall in love. It's like we're walking along and all of a sudden we just fall into this hole of love. That's not how it happens. We consciously make a choice to love. When it comes to true love, it's a choice that we consciously make. Loving someone is not, again, a good enough reason to marry. There are other things that God wants us to consider, okay? And one of those is just what love is. He wants you to understand what love is and where love comes from. And so I want you to take a look at this next video about love, and then we'll lead right into to my interview with my wife, okay? And I'll come back after that. so ultimately, you're looking for the love of your life. And what I'll get to at the end of our message is that love is first and foremost got to be Jesus Christ. And then you can discover what that love actually is and make that choice to love another person. But I asked Sherry to join me up here because we're talking about how do you find the love of your life, and I found the love of my life, my Sherry Moore, and she found hers, right? Right? Okay, good. Okay, we can continue then. But before we found each other, you got to understand, we both bought into a few of these myths that we just covered. And it's when we stopped buying into these myths that we were able to find each other and find true love. What we did is we quit putting worldly parameters on our search for a mate. And instead, we started putting godly parameters on our search for someone to spend the rest of our life with. And so what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to set the stage of how Sherry and I met, and then she'll kind of take it from there. But I mean, it's a long story, but I'll put it succinctly. We met in high school youth group, and I thought she was hot, and somebody that I would like to go out with. But unfortunately for me, she had a boyfriend, and I usually had a girlfriend, or as she would say, I always had a girlfriend. So it just wasn't the right time. And we both graduated high school. In fact, her family had moved on from one church to another church. But I still kind of kept tabs on her, even though she didn't know. I wasn't stalking her or anything like that. I mean, it was all legal, legit. But she worked at this ice cream place called the Cone Palace. And they had a lot of babes that worked in there, but I had my eye on this one. And, I loved eating at Cone Palace. I had good food, good ice cream. And so, I would go inside to order, hoping that I would catch her instead of going to the drive-thru and be able to kind of chat and see how she's doing. So we kind of kept we weren't friends, but we were friendly when we talked. And so fast forward, a couple years go by, and a weird thing happens. Our best friends get engaged and then get married, and we are she's the maid of honor and I'm the best man at their wedding. And so you would think, okay, I know where the story is going. That's when you guys, got hooked up. And no, that's not what happened. In fact, I'll let her rewind a little bit, tell her, she'll go back to kind of her high school days, and then she'll fast forward, back to where I left off. But go ahead, hon.
Okay. So when I was in high school, so I was raised in a Christian family. My parents, we went to church. But for whatever reason, in high school, when I began to date, I didn't set much standard for the type of guys that I would date. I wanted to date nice guys who were cute, and we had a good time together, and that was pretty much what I went by. And so when I was a sophomore in high school, I began to date a guy named Mark, and we continued to date all through high school, through my second year of college. And my second year of college, he proposed. We were in love. I didn't think there was anybody else for me. By my standards, he was treating me really well, and I loved him, and thought he was the guy I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And we got engaged, and in November of that year, we were supposed to be married in July, and in November of that year, I got a call from a girl who I didn't know, and basically she told me that he was cheating on me, and she was pregnant, and she didn't want me to get married. I don't know if he was ever going to tell me or not. I don't know how far he would have went with it before he told me, but needless to say, I was completely devastated. I felt like the floor had been knocked out from underneath me. I'd planned my whole life around this guy and felt incredibly stupid, first of all. I mean, I was mortified. that I could be that naive. But so needless to say, I ended the relationship, and that was in November. And then in January, 2 months later, Jason and I kind of met up again.
I was doing drywall.
Yeah, he was remodeling a house at my friend's, and we kind of met up again and began to date. And 6 months later, dating 6 months, so then in July of that year, he proposed to me. And I don't think you knew this, but surprise! No. But that same month that he proposed to me was the same month I was supposed to have been getting married to this other guy.
Oh.
So
No, you didn't tell me that.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of ironic how God worked all that, but
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Learn new things every day.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good new thing to learn. So, go back and look at these myths that we just covered. God chooses my mate for me. The myth that there's only one right person for you, and maybe that kind of went around in your head. But then the myth of love alone is enough reason to marry. Which one do you think that was kind of more of a...
Yeah, it was definitely the love alone is enough to marry. 'Cause there was no spiritual base in our relationship whatsoever, so definitely was not enough.
You know, after you broke off the engagement, what changed in what you were looking for in a man, that you necessarily weren't looking for the first
Yeah.
time?
So when I broke off the engagement, I'd been a Christian, and I thought I had a pretty solid relationship with Christ. But at that point in my life, I knew that I needed to find someone who was spiritually stronger than me. I didn't want to be the person who has to drag my husband to church, or, I didn't want to bring my kids to church without my husband. I wanted to have someone whose faith was stronger, who pushed me to be a stronger person. And so I made the commitment at that time that I am not dating anyone who just goes to church to go to church. I want somebody who's got a relationship with Christ. And I had no intentions of 2 months later starting to date. That was not in my realm of thinking whatsoever. I thought it would be quite some time before I started dating again, but God had other plans. But yeah,
So, if you could give any of the ladies here some advice in their quest for true love, or the ladies that might watch this online, I mean, what advice would that be?
I think probably just to set your standards before you start dating. Inward standards that the guy should have, not necessarily appearances or. But I had decided one of my standards was that, like I said, that I wanted somebody who was stronger in their faith than me. I wanted somebody who was going to be a spiritual leader in my home, and I wanted a godly marriage, and so I set those parameters, and so that would be my best advice. I think don't compromise. I think so many girls today, it seems like teenage girls, and I mean not even just teenage girls, but they compromise so much when it comes to guys, especially in their lives, and I think if you set those standards and you pray about them, and you have those in place, you're less likely to compromise in the end on a guy or a girl.
So more specifically, what shouldn't they compromise?
Well, two areas. So spiritually, that they've got a relationship with Christ, and then also the physical part of the relationship. Mark, the guy that I was engaged to before, there was no physical relationship with us. I had made that commitment to God and my future husband that I was going to be a virgin when I got married, and I remained a virgin until Jason and I got married. And I think if I had compromised on that physically, that it would have been a whole lot harder for me to break off that relationship when he screwed up so badly. I think it would have been a lot harder for me.
Sure. Makes sense. Anything else you want to?
No, I guess the only other thing, maybe one thing I thought of, that when we first went out on our first date, we had it was after church one Sunday afternoon, and we went to an Italian restaurant out to eat.
Posterific. I remember.
And I knew Jason, you know, I mean, we knew of each other, and I knew how involved he was in church. And I mean, he was one of the leaders in the youth group. You know, I knew he was spiritually pretty sound. But we went to lunch, and this is something as simple as, he's like, you know, let's pray together before we eat. I had never prayed with a guy before. You know, several guys I had dated, never ever prayed with any of them. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. You know, I mean, it was something just as simple as that. I mean, and obviously we do a heck of a lot more praying now together, but, you know, it just makes all the difference in your relationship when you have that and you can pray together, and it, you know, it just brings you closer together, closer to God and closer to each other, I think. So, yeah, just make sure, I guess, that any guy that you date, because he could be your future husband, you don't know, you know, who you're going to fall in love with or end up with, and just make sure that he's more serious about God than he is about you, I guess, would be my advice. Because I was blessed to have a second chance. My life could have turned out a whole heck of a lot different. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Give her a hand. She is the love of my life, amazing woman. And you know what's funny is I was looking for the same thing, a woman who was spiritually stronger than me that could help keep me accountable. And it's just funny to hear her say that. But I want to echo her advice to you ladies. Ladies, young ladies or older ladies, if you're searching for love, you are worth it. You are valuable. No matter what anybody has said to you on the contrary, no matter what you've gone through, what's been done to you, I want you to know this, if you do not already know it. God is very fond of you, and he wants nothing but the best for you. And so what I want to do with kind of the remainder of our time, I don't have a lot of time, is I'm going to give the ladies a verse to go to, and the men some scripture to go to kind of start laying out their standards from which they can start laying out for their future spouse. So the one for the ladies is Ephesians 5. Ephesians 5, 1 through 7. I'll read through it for you. But if you're looking for a godly man, or if you know someone who is, I want you to listen to this description that the Apostle Paul lays out at the beginning of chapter 5 here in Ephesians. I mean, because he's describing what a godly person should be. I just think that this is a good start for the characteristics of a godly man and which a woman should be looking for. And he says this. He says, "Follow God's example in everything you do, because you are his dear children. Live a life filled with love for others, following the example of Christ." So ladies, you're wanting someone who's following Christ. And then Paul says, "Let there be no sexual immorality, impurity, and greed among you." So ladies, you don't want a guy like that. "Such sins have no place among God's people." A guy who tells obscene stories, foolish talks, and coarse jokings, these are not for you, Paul says. "Instead, let there be thankfulness to God. You can be sure that no immoral, impure, or greedy person will inherit the kingdom of Christ. For a greedy person is really an idolater who worships the things of this world." And this verse here, verse 6, "Don't be fooled by those who try to excuse these sins." So don't let some smooth-talking guy say, "Hey, it's all right." Don't be fooled by that talk. And he ends this discourse in verse 7. It says, "Don't participate in the things that these people do." And I like how the NIV puts it. It says, don't partner with them. And so when it comes to marriage, don't partner, don't marry a person like this. I mean, ladies, I mean, wouldn't you like to have a guy like that? Now, guys, you might be thinking, Jason, what are you doing? How can I live up to Ephesians 5? Well, hey, I'm not saying you've got to be perfect. And ladies, you're never going to find the perfect man. But you want a guy who's shooting for this standard, who's trying to live up to what Christ wants him to be. And so if guys, if you do that, if you're shooting to live like Christ, to follow him, then you will attract a godly woman. If you're a godly man, you'll attract a godly woman. And so, all right, guys, so what is a godly woman? We'll write down Proverbs 31. 31:10 through 30. We don't have time to go through all of this proverb. So I'm just going to give you some characteristics that Proverbs 31 lays out, and it lays out what a noble woman of good character is. It says, "Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? She is worth more than precious rubies." So then it goes on to describe, this woman who is smart, this woman who is not lazy. It says in verse 20, she extends a helping hand to the poor, so she is compassionate. Verse 21 describes how responsible she is. Verse 24 describes that she is skilled. She has learned a skill. And verse 25, I like this. She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs with no fear of the future. Why? Because she trusts God. So it describes a woman who put her faith and trust in God. Then it ends like this. When she speaks, her words are wise. Kindness is the rule when she gives instruction. She carefully watches all that goes on in her household and does not have to bear the consequences of laziness. Her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. There are many virtuous and capable women in this world, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. So guys, that's a great place to start when you're laying out the parameters of who you want for a spouse. And so the idea here is number one, guys, you be a man of God, a Christ follower. And then look for the same thing, a godly woman, a woman who follows Christ to fall in love with. So we don't go looking for love and then hoping we'll find a godly woman. If you look for a godly woman, first, you will find the love of your life. So it's set the parameters, look for that Christ follower, and then fall in love. And same thing for the women. Look for a godly man to fall in love with. Don't fall in love and hoping you'll turn him into a godly man. I remember before I met Sherry, I wasn't engaged, but I was seriously thinking about getting engaged. I was in a serious relationship. I thought I was going to marry this girl, but ultimately, as I just we were starting to have some struggles, and I just started going through what I wanted in a wife, and we ended the relationship because she just didn't meet the standards that I was looking for. I loved her. I loved her, and that's what was really pushing me to think about marrying her. But everything else didn't line up, and it wasn't what I was looking for. And so I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I was looking for, and don't take these examples as something that you should be looking for. It's just something that I wanted. And so you set your own standards and don't compromise them, is our message from my wife and I today. But just let me give you a couple examples. I was looking for a woman whose parents had not been divorced. I had seen what divorce had done to a few of my friends and to a few of my relatives, just torn the family apart. And so in my mind, when I was that age, I was thinking, you know what? I don't want a young lady who's been taught that, who's gone through divorce and her having her head, if things get tough between me and her, that divorce is an option. That divorce is a way out, because she's been given that example. Now, I know that might be hard to find, today, but it's just a standard that I had. It wasn't necessarily a deal breaker, but it's what I wanted. It's what I was looking for. That's one example. Another example that might seem a little bit odd, and I don't have time to explain it in depth. But I was looking for a girl who had a good relationship with her dad. There are a lot of reasons for that, but it's what I wanted. And that was kind of, so these two things with the girl I was dating, she didn't meet the standard. Her parents had been divorced, and she had a terrible relationship with her dad. And I kind of realized that her relationship with her dad was causing problems between me and her. And I thought, this isn't going to work out. Those are just a couple examples. I had other things that that I had gone through in my head, but I finally decided, what, I love her, but you're not the one for me. I was 19. I wasn't going to compromise, not for the rest of my life. I've done a lot of stupid things up to that point. I didn't want to do another one, but I was frustrated. I was extremely frustrated because I'm like, oh man, I'm 19. I'm not dating anybody. And in my head at that time, I was thinking, at this rate, I am going to be a 40-year-old virgin living in my parents' basement. And folks, I didn't want to be a 20-year-old virgin. So, I was frustrated. It was driving me crazy. And maybe you've got a son, or maybe you are going through that. And I just want you to know, be patient and commit to God and His principles, and He'll bring the right woman to you. I was committed, and I actually decided, you know what? I'm going to give up looking on a wife for right now. I'm just going to concentrate on being a godly man, improving some things in my life, and focus on Christ and myself and who I should be, and working. And I just let that burden go. And here's the cool thing: when I finally did that, that's when I found my Sherry Amore. It was a God thing. And I want to encourage you, if you're really looking to find a godly spouse, make your relationship with God a priority first, and who He wants you to be. Set some godly parameters on who you're looking for. Don't compromise them, and you'll find the love of your life. Go on the website and look at Tony's message. He goes over some things of how God can guide you in this. But I want to say one last thing to the guys before we close. And this may upset a few of you guys, or even the women a little bit, but I just think it needs to be said. Guys, when it comes to women, they are not cars. And what I mean is you don't test drive them, test drive as many as you want, until you find the one that you like. I can't tell you how many times I have sat in premarital counseling with a couple, and the guy tells me, yeah, we're living together, and yeah, we're having sex, but you gotta test drive the car before you buy it. And I'm thinking in my head, dude, you're lucky that's not my little girl you're sitting next to, because I'd be coming across this desk and knocking you out. In fact, if I ever do premarital counseling with you, you probably better not say that, because it's very upsetting to me. Because even though that might not be my little girl, it's somebody's little girl. It's somebody's little girl. And their dad wouldn't be too happy. Or maybe their dad doesn't care. Maybe their dad is a loser and is out of her life. She doesn't have an earthly father who cares. But guess what? She's got a heavenly Father who cares. And if you don't treat her right, then one day you'll have to answer to Him. So don't treat your girl, your woman, like a car. Because what do we do with a car once we're done with them? We trade them in for a new one. That's not That's not what women are. Don't treat them like that. And ladies, don't allow yourself to be treated that way, because you are valuable and God is very fond of you. You deserve the best. That's what he wants for you. Now, I know today's message has been geared towards singles, but I want to remind you that you've all got single friends that need encouraged. So take today's topic and message and encourage those who you know need encouragement, and especially for your children and grandchildren. Encourage them with some godly direction and looking for a spouse. And the last thing I want to do is just pray for you all. So let's pray. Father in heaven, Lord, we thank you that you're a God who loves us so much and wants the best for us, especially in our relationships. And so, Father, I just pray for anybody looking for, true love, that person to spend the rest of their life with. I know it can be frustrating. You know it can be frustrating. So give them wisdom and direction, but most of all, give them patience. Help them realize they need to work on their relationship with you first and who they should be. And then, Lord, give them the strength to set those godly parameters of a person to fall in love with. And Lord, I just about guarantee, Lord, that there's somebody here today or somebody listening today that is in a relationship with someone that they should not be in a relationship with. So, Lord, I ask you to give them the strength. Or maybe put some godly people in their ears to let them know, hey, you've really thought about if you want to spend the rest of your life with this person, Lord, if there's anybody in that kind of relationship, give them the strength to break it off and look for the right person for them. Then finally, Father, just with parents and grandparents here today who are just hoping for the best for their children, give them wisdom and how to speak to their children and lead them into making a godly choice for who they date or who they choose to marry. So in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.